Hello, welcome to Grief Talks with Zenjen. I'm Zenjen, and today's word is hospice. Why hospice? I will never forget the conversation I had with a gentleman a few years ago. It has stuck with me and is still the motivation for the due diligence I take in educating our community on anything and everything about hospice. This man, while on his grief journey, was sharing with me about all the wonderful support he had received during the 48 hours in which hospice took care of his mother. He stated many times how relieved he was to know that he was not alone, and that he would never have been able to make it through some of those difficult times without having received specialized care. Overall, he was saddened and exhausted by the death of his mother, yet he still felt gratitude for the presence of hospice. There was one thing that was causing him extreme guilt and anguish, however, and so he asked, "Why didn't anyone refer my mother sooner?" Over the years, I have come to realize that there are many misconceptions of what the word hospice actually means. Many view it as signifying the end of life or that death is imminent, and it becomes a word that is feared and widely misunderstood. What I know in my heart is that hospice isn't a place, but is instead a philosophy of care that focuses on comfort, quality of life, and the ability to provide support services for both the patient and their family. Many bypass the offer of hospice because they believe it is a last resort measure, only to be used in the final few days or hours of life. The reality is that hospice is at least a 6-month benefit for those diagnosed with a terminal illness and can provide anything from 24-hour care from RNs, spiritual and bereavement support, certified nursing assistants, social work services, and even volunteers. As the gentleman stated, he felt like his mother and his family could have benefited from receiving an earlier referral and was agonizing over what he could have done differently to advocate for his mother. He made sure to point out that he might have made some different decisions in his mother's care had he known what was available and what kind of support would be provided. He mused, "How many other families are missing out on the benefits of hospice simply because they were not aware of when it can be offered and how it can be helpful?" Though it is certain that there are many families facing similar situations, I was unable to give him a definitive answer. Instead, we talked about the advances of medicine and how society as a whole tends to focus on the, quote, fixing and healing of our loved ones versus the palliative care and philosophy of hospice, which looks instead at quality of life and comfort measures. Even though I work for a hospice organization, I have been in situations with my own family members where I wondered why a referral hadn't been made sooner. I recognize that the word hospice tends to interfere with our hope and our desire for our loved ones to get better and to live longer. If you mention hospice, sometimes there is anger and desperation expressed, along with the emphatic statement of, "I'm not giving up." I get it. There has always been a really fine line between what is perceived as throwing in the towel and acknowledging that quality of life is being impacted by countless amounts of treatments and hospital stays. The only recommendation I have is that you begin looking into services that are available once a terminal diagnosis is made. Talk with your loved one about their wishes and formulate a plan with your physician. This is far from giving up. Sometimes our desperation to hold on to our loved ones impacts our decision making, and we are left trying to cope the best that we know how with friends and family, but with very limited resources. Think of hospice as an opportunity to share with others the privileged journey of caring for you and your loved one. Even in hospice, the focus is on living and not on dying. So feel free to ask questions and gather information on how a benefit such as this could be helpful to you and your family. Yes, hospice coming into your life does mean that time is limited, but that doesn't have to mean hours, days, weeks, or even months. Choosing hospice is actually a gift of time given to you and your family so that you may be present for them while others are present for you. Friends, I hope that these thoughts on hospice have you thinking harder about end-of-life care. The time to educate ourselves and have informative discussions with our physicians, family members, and friends is now. Let us work together to take the fear out of the word hospice and instead begin to see it as the light surrounding us during a very dark and difficult time. So until the next time, I'm Zenjen, and may peace continue to be the meaning of our lives.